Good evening, friends. I'm Dr. Aajay Shah, and uh, I'm bringing you another Facebook Live tonight. Uh, we covered how to turn daily stress into daily growth in the last segment. So if you have not watched that segment, please watch that segment. If you have not watched it, that's fine. I will be covering some new techniques and new topics in how to handle stress and how to handle stress into eustress. Uh, we are also, doing this various kind of Facebook Lives on health, on spiritual health, on mental health. We're also starting this daily healthy cooking show. We are bringing different guests. So we are definitely getting busier on our Facebook page. I hope you're enjoying it. Uh, please have your comments. Please have your questions. Please get onto our YouTube channel. Also, we have a YouTube channel, Healthy Living with Dr. Aajay Shah. We have about 70 videos on it now. Great followers. So if you're not subscribed to that channel, please subscribe that channel. So let me sum it up what I discussed in my first video on how to turn stress into growth. Obviously, we all have idea that stress is bad for us. We've been brainwashed since 1930, actually, since 1930, so almost 100 years, that stress is bad for us. But let me tell you one thing, that thinking is wrong. The mindset that stress is bad for us is actually worse than the stress itself. And in my first video, I tried to prove it to you that stress actually is good for you. And when I call it stress, I meant eustress. We talked in my first video what is distress and what is eustress. And like I explained in my first video that we should not have distress probably no more than 5 or 10 times in the life. That means, unfortunately, person going through divorce, a loved one dying in our family, a house burning down, a major terrorism attack, a major car accident, and that kind of stress, I call it a distress. But day to day, what happens in our life, day to day events in our life, even week to week, month to month events in our life actually are not distress, are actually, I call it eustress. And I've given you some techniques how to turn all the quote unquote stress into eustress, because we know now eustress actually is very physiological, is actually very healthy, is actually very growth promoting, and is actually very good for you. So again, turn all stress into eustress. And please watch my first video to see how you can turn all stress into eustress. I've given some common tips. There are some common methods you can employ to turn every stress into eustress. Let's go through those common methods, because those common methods are important to understand, important to employ in our life. Number one, exercise. When you exercise regularly, all day-to-day stress turns into eustress. Matter of fact, day-to-day stress actually motivates you, gives you meaning to life, gives you energy, gives you action, gives you power. So exercise is very important. Daily meditation turns stress into eustress. Exposing yourself to sunlight or taking vitamin D makes stress into eustress. Observing your breath turns stress into distress. Eating whole food, plant-based, healthy diet turns stress into distress. Uh, Having proper relationship, having a conversation with your family, with your friends about your daily life turns stress into eustress. Listening to soft, nice music turns stress uh, into eustress. Reading about various aspects of life, reading about different life philosophies, including Stoicism, turns stress into eustress. So those are the common methods where you can turn stress into eustress. And in my opinion, day-to-day stress has to be turned into eustress, because eustress is, like I said, not only very growth promoting, but is very necessary in our life. Without stress, there is no growth. Without eustress, there is apathy in life. Without eustress, there's boredom in life. As a matter of fact, it's proven that when there is no eustress in life, people die early. People have more heart disease, people have more chance of depression, people have more chance of loneliness. So again, having a eustress in life is very important. Matter of fact, now I personally feel that I want more of eustress. I want more of eustress, which keeps me in action, which keeps me motivated, which gives me the meaning to the life. So with that background from the first video, let's start today's topic. Again, if you have not watched the first video, please watch the first video on how to turn stress into eustress. Tonight, we're going to talk about flight and fight response. Fight and flight response. And I also actually add there is a freeze response also. So fight and flight response has been around for obviously millions of years. When we were, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 years ago in those savanna jungle, and when a tiger came after us, we had to fly, or sometimes we fought, but that was the only response we had, fight or flight. Or we had a freeze response where, if you've seen many deers, when they come in front of your car, they essentially freeze, they don't move. So those responses, in my opinion, are not very healthy response. Actually, there were some blood tests done when people were going through those fight or flight response, particularly after a major life event, and they checked the adrenaline and cortisol level. And whenever those levels were high, there were high chance of post-traumatic disorder. So again, having a fight or flight response very often in life is not very healthy. In my opinion, with the current privileges we have, with all the current safety and luxuries we have, we should not have fight or flight response no more than, in my opinion, 10 or 15 times in life, or even less. Like I said, those fight or flight response, or I call them threat response, which is threat to your survival, which is a threat to your complete well-being, threats to your complete mental serenity, are very rare. I've gone through that kind of a threat response or fight or flight response probably no more than 5 times in my life. The major threat response I had, major distress I had, was about 10 years ago. So again, my day-to-day life, I call it more of a eustress. Driving to my work, I call it the eustress. Matter of fact, I turned my commute of 2 hours of stress into eustress. I listen to podcasts, I listen to some music, I call my parents, I call my friends. As a matter of fact, I take that 1 hour as a privilege, as a benefit. So I have turned my commute into a benefit. I've turned my commute into a eustress. And that's what I tell you, that not have that many fight, flight, or freeze response. I want you to have more of a, I call it a challenge response, which I will explain you as we go in this talk. Actually, there was some studies done in 1936 by Hans Sell, who actually was injecting rats with the cortisol, and those rats were developing ulcers. So he thought that maybe cortisol was causing the ulcers, cortisol being the stress hormone. But then he also thought that maybe the stress of injection itself is causing some harm to the rats. So he started injecting saline in those rats, and those rats still develop the ulcer. So the stress itself from the injections, not necessarily from cortisol, caused those ulcers. So again, he was trying to prove that any kind of stress can lead to ulcers. At the same time, that concept pretty much grew in between 1930 and until about 2000, that stress is bad for you. But matter of fact, Hans Sell himself realized that the stress itself is not bad for you as long as it's eustress. And he actually also coined the term eustress. He actually explained the difference between stress and eustress. But by then, horse was out of the barn, and most people were on the bandwagon of calling stress as a bad thing for you, stress as an unhealthy thing for you. So actually, matter of fact, his idea of stress not healthy for you, even though he wanted to change that thinking, he realized himself that all stress are not bad. Actually, eustress is good for you. Eustress is healthy for you. Did not go further because everybody just were brainwashed. Everybody were just accepting that stress is bad for you. Matter of fact, there were some even tobacco companies who were promoting that if the stress is bad for you, and if the smoking alleviates the stress, maybe smoking is better than the stress and you should be smoking. So stress is bad for you concept was exploited over last 30 or 40 years extensively. And that's what I want you all to change. That's what I have changed myself, that the stress is not bad for you. I talked extensively in my part one that you need to change the mindset that stress is not bad for you. Turn the stress into eustress. Turn again stress into eustress. We will talk about how you turn the stress into eustress as we go in this talk. Uh, there were even some studies done that even in pregnancy, when the stress happens, typically effects on baby is very minimum. As we compare to animals, we have a much larger prefrontal cortex. We have much more a deeper understanding of what we go through. We have much more deeper understanding of meaning of life. And whenever we attach meaning to any stress, actually turn the stress into eustress. Many animals cannot attach the meaning to the stress, and that's the reason many times those animals, when they're exposed to stress, they develop stomach ulcers and they die early. So again, as human, we are different breed. We have a different way of thinking. We have a bigger prefrontal cortex, and we are more equipped to handle the stress much more than those animals. So those studies done on those animals where the stress is bad for you, in my opinion, does not apply to humans, because humans have much more larger faculty of brain, much more bigger prefrontal cortex, and we can attach a lot of the other things to the stress, including a lot of meaning and a lot of care to the stress. And like I said in my first video, the reason we get stressed is because things did not go the way we wanted to go, plus those things we care. If we did not care about those things, we would not be stressed. So again, I keep repeating my talk that if we care about something, and if those things stresses us, forgetting stress means forgetting what we care about. How it can be possible we forget what we care about. To give you an example, if I care about our daughter's well-being, and if that quote unquote stresses me, if I forget that stress, that means I'm not going to care about my daughter's well-being or our son's well-being. So I don't have to forget the stress. I have to turn my stress into eustress, so that way I can still remember the well-being of my daughter, and I still can take care of whatever her needs are, whatever she needs to achieve in her life. So again, turn stress into eustress. And many times, actually, when we say we are stressed, we actually lead to many destructive behavior, including drinking alcohol, smoking, and drugs. So again, the mindset that the stress is bad for us, and that mindset has been created by media, by many psychologists, by many doctors, by many well-wishing parents, by many well-wishing family members and friends, that the stress is bad for you. And that mindset can actually lead to much destructive behavior, including alcohol, drugs, and smoking. There's actually a lot of studies done. The people who are under eustress, they are more resilient, they have achieved more success in life, and they are much more accomplished people. Once again, turn all the stress into eustress. And I've given you all the tools how you can turn the stress into eustress. Obviously, employing those common methods, which I explain you, and then employing specific methods for a specific type of stress. Like I give you an example, if you have a financial stress, learn how to save money, learn how to analyze various investment options, learn how to get a second degree and make more money, learn how to work longer hours if necessary, learn how to work smart, have a financial planner, but figure out how to take care of financial stress, turn that into eustress, and then you will be actually flourishing, you'll be actually growing. So again, employ those common methods to turn stress into eustress, plus employ the specific method, whatever quote unquote stress you are dealing with, to turn that stress into eustress. So once again, like I said, we don't need fight or flight response that often in our life. We don't need fight or flight response that often in our life. We actually need, I call a challenge response. And challenge response is the one which is much more healthier, much more physiologic. And I will describe what are the benefits of challenge response. Challenge response actually increases your self-confidence. It increases your work ethics. It actually makes you more successful and more accomplished. There's also another response called tend and befriend response, which is also in response to social stress, where we actually become more compassionate, more empathetic, we release more oxytocin. So again, creating a tend and befriend response, tend and befriend response. And those response are in response to the social stress, where we become more friendly, more compassionate, and that actually improves our relationship. Uh, so let's talk about eustress. Eustress actually has an appropriate adrenaline response. So there is no high adrenaline, there is no low adrenaline. Eustress has a very appropriate adrenaline response, so it prepares you for the right action. It prepares you for a appropriate flight. It prepares you for appropriate fight. It gives you appropriate channeling the energy. So your energy from getting stressed is channeled towards a better outcome. It increases your focus. It increases your strength. It actually makes your body ready for the action. It increases your power. It increases your peak performance, and it gets you more into the flow state. We have talked about this flow state many times, that when you are in the flow state, you are actually at your best performance, at your peakest performance. So getting into flow state is very important. And flow state typically happens when we are in eustress. Flow state typically happens when we are in this challenge response. So again, getting into flow state is very important. I recorded a video on happiness. It's on our YouTube channel. And in that video, I describe how to get into the flow for almost 10 or 15 minutes. If you're not watched that video on happiness, watch that video. It's a great video on how to be happy. And that video describes how to get into the flow. Actually, when you have a challenge response, there is a release of more endorphins, more testosterone, more dopamine, and more DHEA hormone. DHEA hormone actually is responsible for more neurotropic growth, more brain growth. So again, when we are in challenge response, we actually grow our brain, we actually become more successful. So have more challenge response, and definitely much less fight or flight response. Have a tend and befriend response, which is very important for relationship. There's also another response called excite and delight response, where we get excited and then we delight ourselves. Excite and delight response. That's also a very healthy type of response, and that response is also to different type of stress. So for example, when a person's loved one is stuck under a car, a person can lift the car, just one person can lift the car if that stress has turned into eustress. And that's where many times the passion to save that person's life comes in, the challenge response comes in, and you actually can achieve more than even your physical body is capable of achieving. So again, turning into all stress into eustress, turning all stress into a challenge response is very important. Challenge response is very healthy. Again, challenge response gets you more into the flow state. If you have not read about flow state, just Google flow state, and you will be able to watch a lot of videos on YouTube. You'll be able to read a lot of things on Google about flow state. Getting into the flow is very important. Many musicians, many sports players, many doctors, many surgeons, they literally get, many moms, many cooks, they literally get into the flow state, and that's when they are enjoying their life maximum, they're achieving their maximum potential. So getting into flow state is very important, and you can get into the flow state by creating this challenge response, which is turning essentially stress into eustress. When you are stressed, many times oxytocin hormone is released, and oxytocin hormone leads to better connections. It makes you more trusting. It makes you less fight response, and actually makes you even brave person. So again, release of oxytocin during stress is also very important. I also talked about this tend and befriend response, where you actually become more compassionate, more caring, more empathetic. So those responses are much more appropriate response when you are under stress, and those responses turn stress into eustress. Obviously, extreme form of response is not healthy, which I call fight or flight or threat response. But in my opinion, those kind of response typically happens no more than 10 or 15 times in our life. As a matter of fact, if you, and I'll talk about it, how you can gradually make your stress threshold go up, so that way you have most of your day-to-day stress not turn into fight or flight response, and they turn into a challenge response or a eustress response. Uh, so again, there is a concept of stress inoculation or stress vaccine. When you expose yourself to low level of stress on a regular basis, your stress threshold goes higher and higher, and you actually turn daily stress into eustress. So that's why I highly recommend that expose yourself to day-to-day stress. For example, giving a Facebook Live for me 6 months ago, giving even 10 minutes was mildly stressful. Now I can give live for 4 hours. Matter of fact, I gave a live on diabetes just 2 weeks ago for 4 hours in a row, just with some water and just some coffee, 4 hours in a row, nonstop. And I absolutely enjoyed it. I was excited before I started. I was excited throughout my talk, and I felt very accomplished. So I turned that stress into an exciting event. I turned the stress into eustress, and I was able to finish those 4 hours. I was able to achieve actually a great talk in those 4 hours. So turn your stress into an excitement, turn your stress into a eustress. So if you train yourself, matter of fact, you can turn many fight or flight response into challenge response or many other type of healthy response. So learn how to turn fight, flight, or freeze response into a challenge response, which is healthier, or other type of healthier responses. That brings to a topic which is important topic, and it's a post-traumatic disorder. Post-traumatic disorder is a real unfortunate thing. Many people have gone through large trauma, like losing a loved one, divorce, getting into a major accident, losing a job, and then they go through or going through a war. Many soldiers go through post-traumatic disorder, and that's really unfortunate. And I sincerely believe that post-traumatic disorder is a stress disorder, but I also feel like that can be turned, that stress, post-traumatic stress can be turned into eustress, can be turned into a healthy stress and healthy living. So let me give you my points, my methods, how you can turn post-traumatic stress disorder into a eustress or a healthy stress. Definitely avoid what triggers it. A lot of us have memory of what happened, and many times seeing any kind of object or any kind of a video or picture triggers those past memories and can turn the post-traumatic stress disorder. So giving you an example, sometimes I have a post-traumatic disorder of seeing certain event which happened 10 years ago. Now I just avoid those events. I just avoid driving through those places, and I just don't get triggered from those post-traumatic disorder. As I have immunized myself by doing, like I explained you, common methods to turn stress into eustress, my post-traumatic disorder is almost resolved, but I still take care of myself by avoiding and by not having those triggers in my life. Definitely have a slow re-exposure to those stress. So whatever post-traumatic stress you had, expose yourself to lower level of the same stress and see if you can increase your stress threshold. Definitely practice negative visualization. So when you are sitting quietly just by yourself, replay those scenarios yourself in a small amount, and eventually you will increase your immunity to going through those post-traumatic stress disorder. Definitely journal whatever you go through. Journaling what you go through regarding your post-traumatic disorder definitely has benefit in preventing future episodes of post-traumatic disorder. Fill with the new memories. Like I have filled my memories with a lot of the good things happen in my life over the last 10 years, so I can overcome what I went through 10 years ago as a post-traumatic disorder. Definitely achieve success in other areas. When you fill your life with other types of successes, including physical success, having health, having mental health, having a spiritual success, having a career success, having a relationship success, you can overcome those post-traumatic stress disorder. Definitely reach out to a counselor. A counselor can definitely guide you how to overcome post-traumatic stress disorder. And obviously, definitely, sometimes you take medication to overcome the post-traumatic stress disorder. And obviously, stay in touch with your psychiatrist if you need a medicine. Definitely no alcohol or drugs or smoking for post-traumatic disorder, because not only it does not help, but it compounds the issue. In the long term, it's bad for you physically, mentally, and spiritually. At the same time, employ all the general methods for post-traumatic stress disorder, which I've described many, many times, which includes exercise, sleep, meditation, observing breath, what I call pranayam, walking in the sun or staying in the sun, taking your flax seeds, taking your omega-3, taking your vitamin D, having a relationship, all those things, eating a whole food, plant-based, healthy food, all those things are general methods which are useful for all type of stress, but definitely useful for post-traumatic disorder. Actually, there is a method that said that you can design your own stress response where you actually tailor how much stress you want to create. And that's what I like the concept, that maybe today I want to create 20% of stress of my life, and I can create that. So again, we need to learn how much stress we want, not just how much stress we want, but how much stress we want. We are in charge. Today, if I want to take it easy and not have any stress, I can plan my day that way. So you can plan your stress, and I keep repeating stress word. Stress means healthy type of stress. Stress actually is a necessity of our life. So again, we went through the types of responses, fight or flight response, which should be avoided as much as possible, hopefully no more than 10 or 15 times in life. Challenge response, which we cover extensively, which I'll talk more about it. Definitely tend and be friend response, where we become more compassionate. Excite and act response, where we get excited and we take action. Engage and connect response, where we engage with people and we connect with people. And then we have a find meaning and grow response, where we actually turn all stress into a reason to have meaning, and then we grow from it. And there's a thinking that getting stressed is a psychological flaw. In my opinion, getting stressed is not a psychological flaw. Getting stressed means you care about something, you have potential, you have capacity to turn stress into stress. So don't let anybody convince you that if you are getting stressed, that you have some kind of mental disorder. It's not a mental disorder. Getting stressed and turning the stress into stress is a very healthy thing to do. Actually, there's a saying that when you don't have a meaningful life, you are not stressed. So when we have a meaningful life, there will be daily stress, or I call it stress. So living a life without meaning, in my opinion, is very apathic life, very boring life. That is a life I don't want. I want a life of excitement. I want life of meaning. I want a life of purpose. And if that's the case, there'll be always stress. There'll be always stress. If you look at the stress index, where countries were scored based on the stress, world was scored as 33, United States was scored at 43, and many of the countries were scored lower and higher. And it was proven that countries with a higher stress index actually had a higher GDP, they lived longer, they were healthier. So even this stress index proves on a larger scale, on a more demographic scale, that countries with a higher stress index not necessarily do poorly. And that's called stress paradox. Actually, there is a proof that moms who have kids, quote unquote, they are stressed, but they're actually more often to see smiling, they're more often to see connecting, they're more often to see be happy. So again, mom who have stress of having kids, they're actually happier, they are more smiling, and you can probably visualize a mom who does not have kids, who has 24 hours to herself, are probably not happy, not smiling, not healthy. So again, having a stress of kids actually makes mom happy, healthy, and smiling. So again, turning any stress into a meaning leads to a stress, and that's the way we should be doing. There's also enough proof that people who are busier are happier. People who are busier are happier. People who are sitting, killing their time, watching mindlessly Fox, CNN for hours or Netflix for hours are not actually happy. People who are busy, people who are active, people who work with their hand, people who work with their mind, people who are doing a contribution to society, actually are happier. And those people are turning the daily stress into eustress. Actually, it says that if you want to get anything done, give it to a busy person. If you want to get anything done, give it to a busy person. Busy person is busy because he's able to accomplish, he's able to complete a task. People who are not busy, there's a reason, because people are not giving them job, people are not giving them work, they're not able to finish their task, they're not able to accomplish what the goals they have. So again, if you want to get anything done, give it to a busy person. And busy person typically is not stressed. Busy person typically is eustressed. There is actually enough studies done that people who have loneliness, people who have boredom have a higher chance of heart attack, higher chance of poor health. So again, don't have boredom, don't have loneliness, have an exciting life, have a eustress in your life. To give you an example, if you are standing at a grocery line in a store, and if you have 5-10 minute waiting, and if you are stressed, turn that stress into eustress. You can quickly open a phone, Google some information you're looking for, read something, send a text message to your loved one, even make a quick 2-minute phone call to loved one and say, I love you, or, do some 5 or 10 minutes of activity, maybe observe your breath for 5 minutes, but turn that stress into eustress, even though while you're standing at a grocery line, instead of complaining, instead of getting angry, instead of unnecessarily getting stressed about, turn that 5-10 minutes into an advantage. Turn that 5-10 minutes into a break. Turn that 5 to 10 minutes into your benefit, and turn the stress into eustress. Next thing is definitely write journal about everything which stresses you. There's enough proof. The people who write daily journal about what stresses them turn those stress into eustress. When you journal them, you can reflect better, you can analyze your stress better, and you'll be better prepared next time the same stress comes, because you will have rehearsed that stress by journaling and by reflecting on that stress. Once again, remember, whenever we are stressed because we care about whatever we are going through. If we don't care about it, we will not be stressed. So eliminating stress is not the right thing to do, because that means we are eliminating what we care about. Also, having values in life turns your stress into eustress. So for example, for me, the value, or I call it the signature strength, is love of learning, compassion to other people, forgiveness, hard work. Those are my values. And whenever I'm stressed, I remember those values, and my stress turns into eustress. Matter of fact, I have saved my values on my phone as a screensaver. And whenever I go through any kind of excitement or stressful situation, I immediately looked at my phone, I remember my values, and my stress turns into eustress. So definitely write down your top 5 values or your signature strength. I have given the lecture on happiness. That lecture actually shows you how to find out your signature strengths. There are 24 signature strengths. Know what your signature strengths are. Practice those signature strengths every day, and you have a very high chance of turning stress into eustress. It takes about 10 minutes to go through that signature strength test. But once you do the test, it definitely helps you long-term to know your signature strength, your values in life. And that exercise can help you for the next many, many years, many decades, if you know what your signature strengths are. Next thing is definitely make a list of 10 things you have gone through, 10 worst things you have gone through in your life, and see how you overcame, see how you analyzed it, see how you fought it off, and how you prevail. When you have that list of 10 things, keep that list in your phone all the time. Whenever you go through any stress, read those 10 things, and you realize how powerful your mind is, how resilient you are, and your stress will turn into eustress. So remembering old struggles, see how you went through, how you overcame, what worked, what did not work, and analyzing prepares you for the stress coming on day-to-day life to overcome that stress and turning that stress into use stress. I have made a video on how to journal. That video is already on YouTube. That's a long, about 20-30 minute long video, but that teaches you how you can best journal every day. I journal every day. Even though I'm busy, I commute 2 hours, I exercise every day, I do Facebook Live, I do a lot of other projects, but I journal every day. I write my journal every day. I highly, highly recommend all of you to write journal every day. And if you want to watch my video, how to journal, please watch that video on YouTube. That explains you all different types of journals you should make, including worry journal, accomplishment journal, success journal, gratitude journal, uh, all different type of journals you should be writing to actually not only overcome all the stress, but actually grow and flourish. So please reach out to that video on our YouTube channel, Healthy Living with Dr. Aajay Shah, and watch that video. There's another thing I highly recommend all of you to have it on your phone as a screensaver, your values or your signature strengths, your goals, 3 or 5 year goals, you can have it on your phone. So you can look at it whenever you have a free moment, you can look at the phone screensaver, your 3 happy moments. So you can look at your 3 happy moments. I realized that whenever I look at my happy moments, it instantly makes me, in a serene state, in a very happy state, and it lowers my stress and turn my stress into use stress. Definitely write down the 3 people's name you can reach out anytime. So whenever you are going through any major stress, you can always pick up the phone and always call that person. Definitely write down 5 major success in your life, so you know that you have achieved a lot of things, and that gives you a feeling of accomplishment. Definitely write down that you need to do those common methods, and let's repeat those common methods. Those common methods to overcome stress, to turn stress into use stress, is exercise, sleep, eating healthy, whole food, plant-based, meditation, mindfulness, observing breath, pranayam, I call it, no alcohol, no smoking, and no other substance abuse. If you do those things, you will turn many stress into use stress. There is actually even a method where you can buy a bracelet to wear, where you write all those things and you can look at the bracelet whenever you need to. But I just use it, my phone screensaver, to see how you can keep an eye on what my goals are, what my values are, and what things I've so far accomplished. There's another also way of turning stress into use stress is developing a better listening skills. When we listen better, typically our stress goes down. When we listen better, we learn better, we actually become more cooperative, we become more empathetic. So I highly recommend to have more listening than talking. I personally myself, talk less, listen more. At least I give other people chance to talk and I listen. As a matter of fact, in my life, I've learned more from listening than talking, except right now I'm talking, obviously, but typically I listen more than talk. Definitely go through mindfulness training. There are various camps, there are various YouTube videos, there are various books, there are various coaches who can teach you mindfulness. Mindfulness is very important. I even try myself to be as mindful as possible. I get into my flow, I get into my zone many times a day, but I still can do better in terms of becoming mindful. Another method of turning stress into use stress is to start teaching your skills to other people. When we teach other people, somehow our stress turns into use stress, and we all have ability to teach something. I can teach about health. My wife can teach about cooking. Our daughter can teach about how to be resilient. Every person has some kind of a skill which they can teach to other person. Every person has that. Every person in this world can teach something to other people. So I want you to teach whatever skills you have, whatever abilities you have to other people, and that will lower your stress. That will turn your stress into use stress. The next way you can turn your stress into use stress is always have backup plan for all the goals you have in life. always have backup plan for all the goals in your have you in your life. So for example, I always tell our daughter that whatever specialty she wants to get into, always have a backup plan. If she cannot get into that specialty, then she can get into the next best specialty she can. So always have backup plan, so you can always fall back on, so you never have sudden shock, sudden fight or flight response when your goal is not achieved. So always have a backup plan for all your goals. The next thing is thinking of a larger perspective to lower the stress and turn the stress into eustress. Again, thinking on a larger perspective. I have given a talk on stoicism, and this concept of a larger perspective, it comes from many various philosophies. Stoicism is one of them, where thinking on a larger perspective, larger scale. To give you an example, if you get stuck in a traffic for 1 hour, sometimes we start getting angry, sometimes we get stressed out, sometimes we start complaining. But let me tell you, we have 700,000 hours in our life. We have 700,000 hours in our life. So if you lose 1 hour, no major loss. It's like losing $2 for a millionaire. The millionaire will not be stressed if he loses $2. Same way, if you lose 1 hour out of your 700,000 hours, you should not be stressed. So thinking on a larger perspective and learning how to think larger perspective is very important. Definitely read and learn about Stoic philosophy. I have a whole video on Stoic philosophy, worth watching it. It's on our YouTube channel. Watch the Stoic philosophy video. Stoic philosophy also teaches another important philosophy about how to turn stress into eustress and how to lower stress. And that concept is knowing what is under our control and what is not under our control. What is under our control is our thoughts, our actions, our habits, our lifestyle, our values, our interactions. Those things are under our control. Things which are not under our control is how other people treat us, what is our health, death, our house, our car, our commute, our job. Those things are not under our control. So whatever is under our control, we should act on it, we should work on it. And whatever is not under our control, we can try to improve those things, but those are not under our control. We cannot be stressed about it. At the same time, taking care of what's under our control will lead to better outcome on what's not under our control. For example, if I eat healthy, I will have a good health and I will have a less chance of dying prematurely. So even though dying and health is not in my control, eating healthy is under my control. So I should do whatever is under my control. And that will turn stress into eustress. Definitely turning stress into eustress also involves not having many regrets. I always said that don't have any regrets, just have the learning lessons. So I have no regrets in my life, even though 10 years back, I went through a major health issue, but I only have learned from it. I have moved on from it. As a matter of fact, grown from it. I've flourished from it. I'm hoping to prevent it all my life again. We will talk, when we have more time about what I went through and details, and I'll be happy to share. But again, I have no regrets. We should have zero regrets in our life. We should have zero regrets in our life. It should be all learning lessons, no regrets in our life. There are other methods you can lower your stress and turn stress into eustress, is that eliminating negative people in life. There are billions of people in this world. We don't need negative people in our life. I highly, highly recommend all of you to identify the negative people in your life and eliminate them as much as possible. Obviously, some of people you cannot eliminate them because they are your blood related or they are in your family, but definitely do something to keep the minimum interaction with those negative people. Definitely eliminate jealous people. They are not good for you. They are not good for your life. Eliminate them as much as possible. Eliminate people who pull you down. You don't need them in your life. Eliminate people who are narcissistic. No need in your life. Eliminate people who are control freak. Eliminate them completely. They don't need in your life. Eliminate people who don't encourage you, who are not your well-wishers. They are not needed in your life. Eliminate definitely people who don't value the relationship you have with them. You need to eliminate them. Again, there are millions of people. Like my town has 400,000 people. I can definitely find 20 people who match my needs, match my values, who actually encourage each other, who motivate each other. I don't need every person in my life who does not belong in my life. And I recently have eliminated some people who are not, not contributing to my life. And I'm actually very feeling good about it, very proud of it. Definitely, to turn stress into eustress, have three people in your life. Definitely your spouse, your partner, you can talk anytime. Have a friend who's your well-wisher, you can talk anytime. And someone who's more experienced than you and who can be actually your coach, life coach, I call it. So definitely have three people in life: a spouse or life partner, or second, a friend who's your well-wisher, and third person who is wiser than you, who's more experienced than you, who is more maybe educated than you, who's maybe more learner than you, and who can actually guide you and coach you. So definitely have those three people in life to turn stress into eustress. Uh, there is actually theory that people who don't go through stress don't flourish. People who don't go through stress don't flourish. So again, like if you can remember your own life, you probably will realize that every time you have gone through stress, you actually grew from it, you actually achieved more success from it. In my own life, all my stress, I've turned into eustress, and I've actually grown from those things. So I actually want more stress or eustress in my life than ever before. I actually want more stress and eustress in my life than ever before. Like I said, I have I had one distress in my life, at 10 years ago. And I'm 57, 58 years old, and I only one distress in my life. And most of you, I can assure you, no matter how old you are, you probably had 5 distress in your life, but you have labeled more than 5. But if you really, really deep down search, there were only 5 distress, maximum 5 distress in your life, which led to many major life-changing experience. Most people develop life distress, major distress, very rarely. There are actually a few books I want you to remember and read. One of them is called Grit, Grit. That book is by Angela Duckworth, one of the great book. I read it like 3 times. I listened to it once. A great book, how you can become resilient, how you can increase your adversity quotient. There's also another book by Paul Stoll's, Adversity Quotient. That book is also a great book to read. There's another book called Learned Optimism by Martin Seligman. It's again a great book about how you can increase your optimism. My Happiness Talk, which is on YouTube already, has a large section on how you can increase your optimism. Please watch that video, and you can learn how to be more optimistic. So let's talk about the challenge response one more time. Challenge response is the response where you turn stress into eustress. So what are the qualities of challenge response? Challenge response is where you have positive energy. The energy of stress you turn into a eustress and use towards more healthy outcome. Actually, it gives you more focus. So again, challenge response gives you more focus. It gives you more encouragement. Your physical body is prepared to take action. As a matter of fact, your physical body behaves as if you are exercising, as if you are doing something good, as if you're doing something healthy. Instead of like flying or fighting, you're actually like as if like you are exercising. It's more physiological, it's more controlled, it's more healthy. Actually, it prevents the inflammation. Again, challenge response prevent inflammation. It actually vasodilate your blood vessels. That means it opens up your blood vessel, which is more healthy thing to do. Uh, this challenge response can happen actually few times a day and still be very healthy. It can actually increase your longevity if you go through this challenge response every day. Actually, it's better for your brain. Actually, it makes your brain grow. It actually immunizes for future stress. So it actually makes you more immune to future stress. It actually increases your DHEA hormone, which makes better brain function, better brain growth, and it behaves like a vaccine. So again, challenge response is very healthy response. Read more about challenge response, but I want all of you to your challenge response, essentially turning stress into eustress. Other response, which is very unhealthy, is a fight or flight response. And I explained you that response again and again. Fight or flight response should not happen few times in a life for us, like getting in a major car accident, a burning building, a war, a terrorism attack, going through divorce, going through a job loss, going through a major illness. Those are the ones which are fight or flight response, and people typically don't have more than 5 or 10 times in their life. Our day-to-day responses should not be flight or fight response. And when you have fight or flight response, it's more like a threat response. The whole body is actually ready to fight or flight. It's very non-physiologic. It actually causes vasoconstriction, which is very unhealthy. It can actually lead to less longevity. It actually sensitize you to the future post-traumatic disorder. It releases more cortisol, and definitely fight or flight response is not healthy for you. It should not happen more than 5 or 10 times in life. So again, remember your fight or flight response so far you had, and try to prevent them as much as you can. And to give you an example, when I'm in a street, if I'm not trained, if I'm not a fighter, if I'm not a practitioner of a kung fu or martial arts, if a robber comes, I probably will be flying or fighting, because I've not trained myself. And I'm not able to use my resources because I don't have any resources to fight that person. So I will probably fly. I don't think I will fight. But on the other hand, if you look at the Bruce Lee, he has used his daily stress into eustress to train himself. He can take the challenge. Instead of flying, he will fight, and he will actually probably win. So again, training yourself, creating resources in your life actually makes you less fight or flight response. So again, this pretty much concludes segment 2 of the 4. There will be 2 more segments. Tonight's segment, again, will cover how you can turn stress into an asset, how you can turn stress into a growing mechanism. And that's the theme of this 4-segment seminar, how you can turn daily stress into growth. So we will meet again soon, maybe next few days, as I read the book, as I go through my own reflection, how to turn stress, daily stress into growth. Once again, we are doing this live on a regular basis. We have a YouTube channel now. Subscribe to our channel. There are 70 videos on YouTube now. We are bringing guests on our Zoom. We are doing this diabetes Zoom call every Sunday at 4 o'clock. So if you have diabetes, or if any of your friends or family have diabetes, it's a free call. There is no cost to it. You can be live with me. I can take live questions. I can answer your questions. You'll be hearing a half an hour talk on diabetes. So again, there will be a lot of new things happening on our Facebook page. We are bringing matter of fact, a music band this Friday, tomorrow at 7:30. So we are bringing a music band live at 7:30 tomorrow. So so be excited. Stay tuned. There'll be some exciting shows on our Facebook Live, on our Facebook page. So invite your friends to like our page, share our page, share our live talks when you are on the live talk, and grow together, be healthy together. Again, take care of yourself with the COVID-19. The second wave possibly is coming. So wear your mask, wash your hands, keep the social distance, go out only absolutely necessary, and please be safe. Thank you and good night.